I have found my Book of Henry for 2018 already, and we're only 3 months into the year. Let me tell you about Mute, I guess. I came across this movie. I had myself a little bit of a Stephen King double feature, a little Gerald's Game mixed in with a little bit of 1922. I hadn't seen the movies yet, so I just saw them on Netflix. And then this comes up in my queue. Mute. Directed by Duncan Jones, who I believe did Moon, which I've heard good things about. I have never seen Moon all the way through. At least I get that it's like kind of trippy sci-fi, and Sam Rockwell does a pretty stellar job in it. But I've never seen like the full film, and so I was like, okay, well, let's see what this is about, I guess. So I put it on. Alright, so the reason I brought up Book of Henry is because this is the science fiction equivalent of Book of Henry. It's not entirely sure what it wants to do with itself, so it just does everything. And it's kind of gloriously stupid because of that. I'm really kind of at a loss for words when it comes to this movie, but I'll try to break down the plot for you. Alexander Skarsgård stars as this bartender named Leo, who's Amish, in Berlin, in either the future or some parallel present that has futuristic technology. Let's say just kind of a Blade Runner-ish type world. So I hope you're following me here. He's a mute Amish bartender in a Blade Runner setting. He was in some accident when he was a little kid, damaged his vocal cords when he got hit by a boat or something. I don't know what happened, but his vocal cords got sliced up. And his mother, who's against surgery, was basically like, no, we're going to leave it in God's hands. So he grows up mute. And he ends up being a bartender, like I said, in Blade Runner-ish Berlin, where he's dating one of the waitresses at his job at this club, which happens to have Futurama-style robot strippers. Mickey from Doctor Who shows up for a little bit as a wanker. Basically, it follows him as he goes through a Marv Sin City style mystery, trying to figure out what happened to his girlfriend named Nadira, who disappears after they spend a romantic evening together. All the while, paralleling this, you've got Justin Theroux and Paul Rudd as surgeons for organized crime, I guess. They're AWOL American soldiers, so I guess in this universe, everyone's on the lookout for AWOL U.S. soldiers on European soil, and he needs the proper Paul Rudd needs the proper documents to get him and his daughter back to the States, I guess. So he needs to go to the club owner, which Leo bartends at, to get these forged documents. But in the meantime, he's moonlighting as this surgeon for, I guess, the German mob or whatever. And Justin Theroux is his fellow soldier / surgeon buddy, who may or may not be a pedophile because he likes to videotape the children that he provides prosthetic limbs to. So I gotta stay on track. So Nadira, Alexander Skarsgård's girlfriend, goes missing. He is given clues on this phone that she gave him on where to go, which leads him to many different places, from her apartment that she shares with her transvestite BFF, and they're both prostitutes together, I guess, to back to the club, where he gets into a fight with the club owner's enforcers, one of whom looks like David Prowse from A Clockwork Orange, to the point where I thought it was David Prowse from A Clockwork Orange, Julian, with the glasses and the poofy hair and the That dude's a manservant. He's beating people with the bedpost of a bed that he's hand carved with dolphins on it that he was going to make for Nadira. All the while, Paul Rudd sort of figures out Justin Theroux may or may not be a pedophile, is almost ready to kill him over it, but then finds out he's getting his walking papers for both him and his daughter, so he's like, hey, all that stuff about you possibly being a pedophile, fuck it, man, let's paint the town red, I'm celebrating, it's my last night in Berlin. So Paul Rudd's kind of nutty in this. This movie has all the movies in it. It's a little bit of Blade Runner with its setting. It's a little bit of Tarantino with regards to its dialogue, and everyone just amped to 11 like they've been doing cocaine. It's a little bit of what's that, Altered Carbon, that TV series, or that Netflix series that I just finished watching a couple of weeks ago, which, my God, I wish Altered Carbon was a little bit more batshit like this movie was. Oh, boy. This movie's a wreck, but it's a fun wreck to watch, don't get me wrong. I'm really trying to fathom what the pitch for this movie looked like, because it's insanity, but at least, like, there's enough there that held my attention. The mute portion of the movie, Alexander Skarsgård is mute for a majority of this movie. Spoilers, there's a little bit at the end where he talks a little bit with a robot voice. I don't mind spoiling this movie for you, but yeah, he ends up getting a robot vocal cord set up, courtesy of Justin Theroux, to a music box rendition of Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana. What? So anyways, he's mute for a majority of the film. But I don't understand really why that needed to be the gimmick to begin with, other than for some kind of lame, limp-wristed resolution at the end where he gets to use his voice to save somebody, but it really didn't have to be that. Like, there's really no reason whatsoever why his character should be mute. He communicates through people with his notepad, or he gets, he just hand gestures to people and stuff like that. And there's really nothing in this story or in this world that would have you invest in that character trait other than it's just there. In other words, like, if his being mute actually played into, I don't know, the dynamic of the mystery of what's going on, it's a fucking stupid mystery, but it might have been a little bit more interesting if him being mute actually added something to why it's so just crazy. Other than that, all you get is, like, every once in a while he has to go to, like, this futuristic kiosk, and it's like, please tell me the selection you're looking for, and he can't because he's mute. So he ends up just going looking for the thing himself. Okay. There's quite a bit of what the fuckery going on in this movie. I'm sorry. I have been trying to refrain on my cursing in these videos quite a bit. Not for monetization issues, obviously, because that's a pipe dream at this point. But I don't know. I just feel like there's only so many times you can use certain, as Spock would put it, colorful metaphors in your language. But this is truly a what the fuck type of story and film, because it is baffling. I had no idea where this movie was going, and I was part genuinely curious and part aggravated. Because as much as I was like, I'm really wondering how everything is going to coalesce and pay off. And everything does come together, sort of, and you find out, like, all the different mysteries converge into being one big mystery, but it's really hackneyed how it gets there. And so at that point I was like, okay, this revelation isn't cutting it for me. The reason why Paul Rudd's story is going to intersect with Alexander Skarsgård's story isn't working for me. And I just happened to look down at the timer on my little view screen on Netflix, and I'm like, there's 45 more minutes of this movie. What else can they do? It really was. I had a couple of these while watching it because it really was quite the baffling viewing experience. I really hope Moon is not like that. I hope Moon is a little bit more. Let's say it can be abstract, it can be weird, sure, but let's pick a consistency, maybe for tone or for character arc, perhaps, when it comes to Moon. I genuinely want to see that movie all the way through now, just to be like, okay, did Duncan Jones just kind of have an off day with this film? Because if this is what the rest of his filmography is like, I gotta say, it would be fun to put on at a party where you're drinking heavily. I'll give the movie some genuine kudos without being laced with some kind of sarcastic, asshole-ish type of remark. The design of the world is interesting. It is going for that Ridley Scott Blade Runner-ish aesthetic. Like, that's the first thing you think of when you see this Berlin futuristic city. Is Blade Runner. You have flying cars, you have towers going all the way up into the sky, you've got the lower portions that are murky and dirty, and everyone looks like they've been through an environmental crisis, much like Los Angeles in 2019. So the design is really cool. Sorry, I gotta slide something in there, but it's nothing you haven't seen before. Like I said, Blade Runner. Paul Rudd looks like he's having a blast. Just saying whatever he wants and being utterly insane in this movie. It'll look like Paul Rudd's just being Paul Rudd. And it kind of is, but he's kind of more unfiltered than he usually would be. It's almost as if Brian Fantana somehow got his DNA spliced with Scott Lang. And so it's Brian Fantana with all of his inhibitions ripped out of him, basically going through the plot to Ant-Man with regards to, I gotta do this for my daughter. I'm truly kind of scrambling here for an actual coherent or a review of some substance. I hope this is entertaining substance for you out there, because I don't know about this movie. I can't say it's good, but at the same time, I was genuinely baffled and genuinely just wondering, where is this going the entire time I'm watching this movie. But I'm not gonna lie to you, there are gonna be points you're gonna be like, how much longer does this have to go on? This is a recommendation, not a recommendation. If you enjoy utter mind fucks like this movie is, not to the point where it's like it's so abstract and almost Lynchian that you gotta drop your own interpretation. No, it's nothing like that. It is straightforward. The plot's laid out there, but the choices, I'm talking more about the choices that the filmmakers took, the choices that certain actors take, the choices in some of the aesthetic of this world. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a complete and utter mindfuck. You're just gonna be wondering, like, what were they thinking with this movie? If you're entertained by that prospect, have at it. If you're not, though, if you are one of those people who's like, makes sense movie, either from a story standpoint or from a selling standpoint, makes sense, I can't see you gravitating to this type of movie. Oh boy, like I said, this is Book of Henry level of what's going on. What is the purpose of this film? Half of me's mad, half of me is laughing over the sheer absurdity that I just saw. Oh man. Okay, so I gave one pro about the design of the world. Cool design. I'll give one con here. It does seem at times that it's trying too hard to be cool. And what I mean by that, it does seem as though it really wants to win you over with just its style more so than its substance. And it's pretty apparent, because as much effort as they put into the world and how it looks, and some of the way some scenes are shot up, the way some actors take certain liberties with their role, it's pretty clear that they're going more for the shock value of what's taking place on the screen more so than the actual undertones, more so than the actual plot. Because the plot, like I said, you'll once the revelation is dropped, the plot is actually pretty simplistic, but it is ramshackled, just thrown together crap pretty blatantly. Much like my thoughts here. But if you enjoy just watching ramshackle plots and, you know, stories that are just like, I'll take a little of this and a little of this and a little of this and let's throw in this, and there you go. Mute is for you. Whew. Yeah. Mute. Boy, oh boy.